everybody, Backyard Bullion here. Welcome one and all to episode 172 of In Focus Friday, the show where we take a good close look at cool things made of silver or gold. Last week it was the turn of the silver Kiyomori Samurai coin from the Scottsdale Mint. Very cool piece indeed and very well received in last week's episode. If you've not checked it out yet, there's a link down in the description below as always. Now, as you can see, the winner from last week's vote was, of course, the big gold shiny coin. You're all very, very predictable magpies. Thank you for voting for the redback spider and the harp from Montserrat. If you did, they will be returning at the end of this episode with a stack of shiny Christmas-themed silver. So stick around to the end of the episode, cast your eye and indeed your vote on what you want to see next time here on In Focus Friday. But today we are going to be focusing on the Royal Arms in silver and gold, which is one of the coolest coins that I've seen come out from the Royal Mint recently. It's a 2019 edition coin. I'm really happy with the gold version. We'll talk a little bit about why I purchased it, some of the impulsivity, I guess, behind the purchase as well, the design, what it all stands for, compare and contrast the gold and silver, which I think is really interesting. That would be a very cool indication to see what you guys prefer, design-wise, colour-wise, aesthetics-wise, silver or gold. I know a lot of you would say gold because it's worth more, but it's an interesting one because the silver actually for me really does have a lot more kind of pop in terms of the design. So now, story of why I've purchased this. I didn't originally foresee myself purchasing these coins. In fact, I didn't even purchase any of the silver ones at all in the first couple of months of their release from the Royal Mint. I'd seen them released and I thought, well, they look very nice, but they for me were a little bit akin to the Two Dragons coin that we saw in 2018 from the Royal Mint. And by the way, before anybody starts moaning, I'm quite happy holding this particular coin in my bare hands because it's been rolling around my stock box for a long time. They come supplied from dealers in little plastic baggies. They don't come in capsules, so that's definitely something to factor in. So please don't worry about the condition of this particular one, and I thought it would be nice for you to at least see it outside of some plastic. So I wasn't originally targeting this coin to purchase. However, when I saw it in the flesh from a number of different group orders that we did back in early 2019, I actually really started to like this, and it was one of those really surprising coins that popped out at me and said, do you know what, I'm actually quite good. And I agreed, and I think the silver looks fantastic. I love the sort of striation background all pointing through to the center. The Royal Arms itself, which is we'll talk a little bit about in a moment, is really very popping out of the coin, and I do like the way this looks. I think it's aesthetic, I think it's attractive, it's elegant, it's a big kind of tick in the book in terms of aesthetics for me. So I then thought, well, what about the gold version? Because I do, of course, invest in gold for the longer term. Gold is where it's at for me, and rather than buying 80 of these silver versions, which could end up being milky and spotty and gross, I might want to consider getting the gold. So that is what exactly I did, and it took me a while to pull the trigger on it. I wanted to try and find the best price from the best dealer, and in fact I ended up getting this from the European Mint of all places. I found that they were the best price for this particular coin. I had to wait a little bit of time to get it, just simply because it was delayed from the Royal Mint to the European Mint, and then I wanted to vault some orders. So I actually placed this order for this back in, I think it was October, and we finally got it through in early December. It's no fault of the European Mint, just the way it happened to be. So really happy with this, but I have to say that I don't think that the detail pops out from the coin quite as well as the silver. Maybe it's just because the silver here has been a little bit, I don't know, it's got a bit of fingerprint oil and everything on it, I just don't know, but the design on the silver seems to pop a little bit more than on the gold. I think that's perhaps down to just the colour and the texture that the colour gives to the coin. Nevertheless though, really happy with it for a number of reasons. It's aesthetically pleasing still, it's elegant, and it's of course gold and shiny, and an ounce of gold as well, another ounce of gold added to the stack. So very happy on that side of things. We haven't actually really shown the other side of the coin. So the other side of the coin is of course good old Queenie. Here she is in all her glory, Jodie Clark's portrait, which is in my opinion the best portrait of Queenie out there at the moment. There are a few different portraits floating around from different mints. The Perth Mint has changed their portrait recently, and I'm not a huge fan of it, but here is the best in my opinion, Jodie Clark, with that lovely radial sort of speckled pattern background there. So £100, that's an interesting thing to mention. This is a capital gains tax exempt coin, which is a really important thing to think about if you are investing in gold for that long term. If you're going to have that gold for a very long time, especially if you're going to have large quantities of gold, you want to think about the capital gains tax exemption status of coinage here in the UK, and that's something that this definitely has in its favour. Now, in terms of the design, so you can see here the royal arms itself. What is the royal arms? Well, the royal arms is the majestic symbol that signifies strength and majesty, and it represents the illustrious history of monarchy and heraldry in the United Kingdom. Now, look, I know not everybody out there is the biggest fan of the monarchy. Just generally, there are some people who are very anti-monarchical, if that's the right term. Personally, I'm a monarchist. I like the monarchy. I think they do a very good job for the country, for our economy, for our image internationally, and I am a big fan of them. So this, for me, is a pretty cool thing to have, but it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I do appreciate that. Now, this particular coat of arms is the official coat of arms of the British monarch, and its origins lie in the medieval battlefield, where it would have been seen on the shields of warriors and the banners and their dress. It has evolved throughout the ages, and it's an indicator of power, approval, and duty. And it first appeared, this particular iconic design was by Eric Sewell, and then it has been reinterpreted and represented on this coin by coin designer Timothy Noad for 2019. So I think it's a really very cool thing. It's of course got the unicorn of Scotland and the Lion of England there. So there's definitely, they're playing into the Queen's Beast series a little bit here. They've got the aesthetics going. The Queen's Beast series, of course, one of the premier series in the world right now from the Royal Mint, and they've really kind of exemplified that. It's the same kind of lion and unicorn as well. I think they look really very cool and really, really very good indeed. So lots of ticks and boxes for me from this side of things. In terms of price points for them, the premiums on these are, they're average. They're slightly above where you would expect. From the silver side of things, they're more expensive than your regular bog standard Britannias. We haven't got any sort of declared mintages yet. They are as yet unlimited mintage in terms of mint to demand, and the same can be said for the gold. So in terms of versus things like the Queen's Beast series, I think your money is probably better spent on a Queen's Beast Series 2-ounce silver than perhaps the Royal Arms, because there's got more chance of potential premium growth. They'll have lower mintages. Things like the Oriental Border Britannias, they will have higher mintages, the higher premiums because of the lower and fixed mintages. Mintages which are fixed from the outset are a really important kind of distinction for these. So, these could be very low mintage, or they could have millions of mintage. I'm looking probably at these as having, millions of mintages in the silver. Don't know how many in the gold, but it could be, because of the mintage side of things, it could be the potential sleeper winner of this particular design to have it in the gold. But I'm not investing in it as a premium earner. It is simply as a piece of bullion that is relatively cheap over spot. I think it ended up being about 4.5% to 5% over spot price, which is what you pay for a brand new Britannia these days. So quite happy to put that cash out on the gold version. Which do you prefer? That is the question. I'm looking at these both side by side, and I have to say I'm thinking the silver in terms of the pop of the lion and the unicorn look great. Let's just swap them around so the light's got a fair go at both of them. I don't know, I think the silver just seems to pop more, and again, now this is no criticism. Well, I guess it's a slight criticism to the Royal Mint. So the Royal Mint do very good jobs at creating their coins most of the time. They do have a few flops out there, that's for sure, but their quality is always very good. However, they don't necessarily innovate with their designs a huge amount. You see a lot of incredible designs coming out from the Perth Mint and having really interesting matte finishes with contrasting shiny kind of finishes. And it seems like the Royal Mint just keep on hammering that same shiny finish, shiny finish button, I suppose. I would have liked to have seen something a little bit different. Perhaps they will come up with this in the future, but a matte finish on the lion and the unicorn, I think, maybe would have exploded that design from the page, from the coin, and made it really jump out, because it's really difficult to pick out some of the details sometimes. So that's my only kind of criticism. Still really like the coin, don't get me wrong, but I think perhaps it could have been, even more exciting. So maybe that's a little bit of feedback for anybody who might be watching from the Royal Mint. Love the coin, but let's see if we can make literally the world go wow. That's something incredible. So there we have the Royal Arms in silver and gold. Let me know which of the two you preferred down in the comment section. As to the voting for next week, now next week is very close to Christmas. It's going to be just after Christmas, in fact, the Friday after Christmas. So you guys have got some choices to make. You can either continue with the regular sort of day-to-day, week-to-week running of In Focus Friday and have a look at some very cool different silver coins which are out there. Or you can all embrace the Christmas spirit, and I'd love it if you did, because we've got a whole bunch of cool Christmas-themed silver rounds, not coins, rounds to look at. And of course, they'll look a little bit silly to look at if it's not Christmas. So I don't often try and sway the voting on In Focus Friday, but my personal vote is going to be for the Christmas rounds. If you're going to vote for the Redback Spider or the Heart from Montserrat, then let me know down in the comment section. Otherwise, I think Christmas has to win out, surely. Otherwise, that's it from me. We do have one more video before Christmas next week, so I'll see you on that one. Otherwise, I wish you all a very happy holiday season in the run-up to Christmas. Enjoy the time you have with family, it's priceless, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you for watching, hope you have a great week, and as always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.